Alright. So, what's up? Fuck it, we'll do it live.
We're like now.
Yeah, we're now.
Oh,
We're live?
We're not live. We're not even remotely live.
Alright.
But we'll do it anyways.
We'll do it anyway. So, what's up? My name is Fano and I'm here with...
Matt Rich.
Matt Rich. Ain't that rich?
It's not. I'm poor. I'm more like Matt Poor these
Matt
days.
Poor.
Yeah, Matt Poor and Mad Poor. Same thing.
Okay.
One and the same.
Alright, maybe consider some rebranding?
Maybe, but I just feel like, it's not as much of a prestigious brand if I'm dirt poor, you know? I like to present as poor, which is kind of like my spirit animal, but then
Poor, crazy, Quebecer, mountaineer. Yeah. I feel that you're one of those directors that as fame and success kind of come your way, you're going to go like crazier and crazier and crazier, and like in a Matt Rich kind of way.
That's the scariest thing I've ever heard, because that's what I'm worried about.
You're going to go into like these fucking like, I don't know, I don't know in which way, but I think it's going to accentuate the madness.
Yeah, I'll for sure go to the...
Not the
I'm
madness.
actually like a little bit worried about that. Like some of the films, because I have like some happy films I want to do, and then I have some like dark films I want to do. So I'm like, the dark films, I'm like a little worried about how dark I can get with them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you think?
Because you have to like get so into it.
But do you think you measure that darkness to where you can go in your films? Shit, we're really in the deep end. We fucking
Jumping
right in the
there.
deep end. Do you think that the darkness of your films is directly proportional to like your, let's put it, your fame and success? Like you play with what.
By the way,
can get.
I have no fame and success right now. Fano's not alluding to the current fame and success.
I don't know. This kid did
potential.
the keynote trailer.
Oh, God.
I don't know. I don't fucking.
So yeah, your question was about.
My question was like, do you have this? This is how dark this project is gonna go, or do you say like, this is how dark I can get with the amount of shit I can get away with?
I don't know. It's kind of hard. It's like, it's hard because if you look like, to me, my favorite dark director is like Darren Aronofsky. Mm-hmm. His movies, when shit hits the fan, it really hits the fan. And it's kind of like, there's like a balance of how deep you can get and how intense you can get with the darkness and not turn off too many of your spectators. But then again, it's kind of like a bell curve, right? Because like you're gonna turn off a bunch of people if you go this dark, but then once you're like this dark with it, it's probably not a bell curve. I've messed up that whole distribution. But basically, it goes full circle or something. Something happens, and then...
Shapes.
Yeah, when you go like super dark with something, you kind of like go into like niche territory where there's like a lot of... Because I mean, if you kind of dumb it down and try not to go as dark as you can because you're trying to cater to your audience, I think you're just not really... I mean, you're self-censoring kind of to make it more mass appeal, and then it becomes inauthentic, and then you get like less across. I don't know. I'm saying words.
I mean, I think that you can get to the point where, yes, you alienate people. Oh, thank you very much.
Grab some Bruzafinas. No sponsorship.
We are in any way, shape, or form sponsored by Corona beers.
No correlation to the virus.
None at all. Ask Corona's lawyers will... pretty sure they'll tell you. But as I was saying... Cheers.
Yeah, that's it.
As I was saying, there's... You can fall into the middle of this is a kind of like general appeal. It's still keeping it with the style, right? People are going to say like, okay, this is the particular style. This is what we're come to expect from you or from any director in any way, right? But then I think if you push it, what you're saying is like... I don't know why I'm still holding my beer like that.
Push it.
You push it, and yes, you
push
alienate...
it real good.
Push it.
Sorry.
You alienate...
I wouldn't have gone there if you hadn't said push it once again. I felt obligated.
No, it's fine.
You were talking about pushing it.
No, so you push it, and you do alienate a certain base of the audience. Probably not everybody, but then you build that like core, hardcore audience, right? And maybe you go more in like the cult territory or like in the niche territory of your audience. And
I think I'll always be pretty niche though.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's like, I don't know.
But you've got projects. You've got projects. I don't know. I don't know if you want to like talk in this forum, I suppose, of like projects coming up. But I know you've got one particular project that's really big and close to your heart, based on what you like to do on your spare time.
Yeah. about masturbation.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's has massive appeal, and everybody could enjoy
Everybody
that,
does it. It's like, why has nobody thought about it?
Exactly.
Right?
So, like, the movie about that...
Skiing. It's about skiing.
Okay, so about skiing. So we continue writing. Like, just following the slope of this joke. But I think... I mean, unless you specifically try to put it in a more niche way, maybe in the techniques, in the storytelling, in the style, whatever, but it's got mass appeal.
I think,
right?
I think, like, that's like a theory. It's like a thing that I kind of try to always keep in what I'm doing is, like, for me, like, any good film has got to have multiple layers. Like this film we just watched, what was the name of it?
Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a film that we watched, which is called Jojo Rabbit, because... At some point when we get there, because there is no plan. But, yeah, it's like, that film worked on tons of different levels, and, like, that's one of my approaches in general, is it's like, it's got to work on... it's got to work on several levels. So, for example, the film that I will fucking do, Going Hood, is I want to hit that niche really hard, like, but I also want it to be mass appeal because, and that's doable. Like the idea that that's not like, you're selling out. Like, no, go.
The niche
you're too
being
lazy to
like
think
the
how you
extreme
can do
sports.
Yeah.
Right?
So basically, like you can do your road trip film, passage from boyhood to manhood story, and you can do that, which has mass appeal, and it's a very general, it's a meta narrative, and you can do that while also appealing to your niche. And it's like the idea that you can't do both, I find is just so ridiculous. But not only that it's ridiculous that you can't do both, but it's just every project to me needs to be approached with like, all right, what's like, how many layers does this work on? Like, will the dum-dums get it? Will they be entertained? Will the sorry, I don't want to call people dum-dums, but there are dum-dums.
No, there's there are dum-dums in film going.
And it's great too, because it's like they enjoy those films on such a simple level, which makes it like, which makes films light, which makes them interesting. And if you don't appeal to them, your film is shit, because you're just this arrogant snob who's just
I agree.
self-masturbating, It is about masturbation, actually.
Yeah, actually. We've come full circle. We've come bell curving to masturbation.
Yes.
So, no, I got a good example, and it's a conversation we've had in the past with the movie Mid-90s, the Jojo movie, right? Like, I enjoyed the movie a lot, and you didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm in the dum-dum category of that movie, because for
me
it appealed...
in the specific of the niche.
Well, exactly. That's my point, because for me it appealed with like, I like Jonah Hill's humor. I enjoyed his writing. Being a 90s kid, I was like, okay, I get this vibe. It's
a great passage to manhood.
Exactly. And the kid finding himself like a little bit of an outcast, finding himself. So it resonated in a lot of aspects for me, but it was at that general mass appeal sense that it resonated with me. And when we brought it up, and I was like, oh dude, you probably like this movie. It's a movie about skateboarding, and your reaction was
skateboarding is bullshit, and I forget because I have no memory. I have concussions, so probably because of skateboarding. But no, actually I didn't get any concussions in skateboarding that I remember, but
so maybe you did.
That's the thing about concussions, you never know. But no, it's like, the skateboarding was bullshit, and just the whole like gang dynamics of like, how it is acting within your like skater crew is kind of just like, that's what an outsider would think skaters act like.
Right.
It's like, yes, there's a lot of tough love and all of that, but it's they just got weird with it. So it's like, you gotta appeal to your niche, man. If you're making and I'm also maybe pickier because I love extreme sports, and extreme sports films are so rare. So when one of them comes out, it's like, you got it wrong. Like,
you are I think that's why this is such a good example, because you are the niche at the deeper level with that film, and I'm the dum-dum at the dum-dum level, right?
Yeah.
So I did enjoy it, and
if they would have completed with the niche, then it would have been this great film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it would have those layers.
Yeah. Do you want to get into this film that we just watched, which was, had a title that you might remember?
Yes. It's Jojo Rabbit, directed by Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
From What We Do in the Shadows, Hunter for Little Wilder People. He did Thor Ragnarok.
That's where I heard about this guy. Okay. I heard he did a really like weird ass Thor Ragnarok.
Imagine
it was like completely out of the, well, not completely, but out of the genre and way weirder and like.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like what they did. It's like Thor wasn't really working out with like within what they were going on, and there's a big point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not gonna fucking nerd out about comic books for as long as I would normally do. So, so essentially, you had the Marvel Cinematic Universe going one direction. It was very successful.
Sorry,
I actually made one.
Yeah, I made one because I was just messing with them, so I figured out I shouldn't have them here because I need them for that project. Sorry.
So no problem. So then Guardians of the Galaxy comes out, right? And Guardians of the Galaxy, huge
and it was
hit.
offbeat.
It was offbeat, and the thing was that it was one of those things that nobody gave a shit about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it was like a bit of a throwaway, right? It was
exactly.
Like,
there were comics for Guardians of the Galaxy, and then they did this movie, and the thing about it is like, they did the movie with like not the original Guardians of the Galaxy, but with like the next group of Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay. So it's like changes like that it's like nobody fucking knew them. And once the movie comes out, they give it to James Gunn. I wouldn't even be surprised if they gave him final cut of the movie.
Really? Because that's how little they give a fuck.
Yeah, that's how little they gave a fuck.
I can't wait to get in that position.
And so it was just like a throwaway for them. Yeah. And how much of a throwaway? I don't know, because I was in the fucking room with this when this happened.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my
rumor has it.
Yeah, rumor has it. And it's kind of my assessment. And it was fucking major hit, and it had the beats of like humor. Yeah. It didn't take the story too seriously, but it really treated the characters with like a lot of respect for some of the source material. It was just like that sweet spot of he played it real good. And James Gunn has this kind of offbeat humor. So then they were thinking like, okay, how are we gonna revamp Thor? They got with a director that has the same kind of offbeat kind of humor. Yeah. He's from.
I love how you pronounce humor. I'm all about it. So it's like humor, but more humorous. It's humor.
Yeah, I try to inject the emotion into the word and. So it borrowed. Oh, there we go. It borrowed a lot of there we go. A lot of themes from Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's like they expanded into the cosmic aspect of the Marvel universe. It injected camp humor. Didn't take itself too seriously. They played a lot for fun. They played a lot with the music too. Like the main song for Thor Ragnarok is Immigrant Song.
Oh, it's dope.
They based all the marketing.
The original Immigrant Song or like a cover of it?
Like the Led Zeppelin one.
Damn.
It's pretty dope.
It's got to be hard to clear those rights.
Yeah, but I mean, Disney money.
Oh, yeah, Disney. I forgot about Disney money.
Well, that's another thing that he's done. And funny fact is that he actually won an Academy Award for Best Short like years ago.
Okay.
Years, like fucking well back. Eons. Eternal. Unspoken. Incomprehensible. But then he's from New Zealand, so he did some stuff in New Zealand.
Well, that's why his name is weird.
Yeah. He did What We Do in the Shadows. What We Do in the Shadows was a huge hit over there, and it's certain kind of like a niche thing. It actually has Matt Berry in it.
Oh, I love Matt Berry.
So What We Do in the Shadows is...
no way. I'm sold. I want to see it now.
It is so good because it is this kind of mockumentary about a group of vampires. There are vampires that are roommates.
Yes.
And it just kind of goes... Each vampire represents a different archetype of vampire.
Nice.
And
cool.
it's kind of how they interact. And then
so to get back to this movie we just saw, which has a name that I don't remember.
Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, Jojo's the rabbit. You were like, oh, doing like the text and the subtext. And it's like, what's the name? Oh, Jojo Rabbit.
Of course. But yeah, he's like, so it's funny because
in the last scene you were like, we get it. Jojo's the rabbit now.
I'm like, at the same time, like I understand, the film language and stuff like that. So I'm kind of like in that space of audience, which is like tricky. But at the same time, I'm also one of the dum-dums. I'm like, oh, he's the rabbit. Yeah. But basically what I wanted to say is, so this dude,
Taika
Waititi Kapupu,
I practiced the name, so it takes some stuff.
Yeah.
It takes some time.
But what I wanted to say, he's like, he's one of those dudes who seems to direct films that are just like this ridiculous premise, and then you take it from there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this film that we just watched just starts off with like just this toddler. He's not a toddler, but this 10-year-old kid who's like, a 10-year-old kid in like Nazi, kid camp.
Yeah.
And it's just a ridiculous premise, and he takes it over the top. And now that you say he's from New Zealand, I kind of see the humor, which is really cool because they have like it's very silly, such a silly film.
It is so silly, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, it's based on a book.
Yeah.
I have I have no frame of reference to compare it with because I have no idea what the book is like. But
because Fano doesn't read.
I don't read. And Taika adapts. We're on a first name basis now.
Oh yeah.
Taika adapts book Hunt for the Wilder People's book. What Have We Done? Shadows original.
Oh, he's one of those director who adapts books.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, it
feel weird about
won
that.
Best Adapted Screenplay in these Oscars this
Okay.
year. So, what I was going with this is that where was I going with this? You're saying about
I have no idea.
he picks projects that have that weirdness to it. Like,
Yeah.
I think he picks them very well.
Yeah, he's probably got a very good eye for picking stories.
But a great thing about it, I think, is that it's not just the weirdness, but how it plays the weirdness into the situation, because it ridiculizes, that's a word, it ridiculizes the whole, like, indoctrination and ideology, like this fanaticism of the Nazis.
Yeah. I feel like it's a trope that's been seen many times, like ridiculing. Is that how you pronounce it?
I think you're right.
I think so. Ridiculing the Nazis. It's kind of like one of those classic tropes.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of films just Hitler looks ridiculous in so many goddamn ways, which is
Yeah.
fun because it's like you're throwing rocks at this epic asshole. It can be easy and it can be cheap, but he did like the way that he did it is just it's so hilarious. It's like everyone's so like the Nazis are just like so weirdly lovable, but so ridiculous. They're like these children and like there was a thing that you were describing, which you talked about before, where we were talking about the ridiculousness. Mm-hmm. So basically, there was a couple of times, where his setup, like the jokes, were massively ridiculous, like the constant Heil Hitlering.
Yeah, that's
great,
so funny.
But so the setup of the joke was constant Heil Hitlering, and then he brings it back to this really deep and like stressful moment.
Right.
Are we doing spoilers?
I think, you know what? I think we're well into spoiler territory now.
Spoilers.
So, the setup is...
I love that moment.
Okay, spoilers, 1, 2, 3.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out, watch the goddamn movie, then come back.
Yeah.
So,
There's
the
a
setup
pause
is like... that's a pause. Well, wait. It's got a runtime of like 2 hours.
Yeah. Is it? Or le? I have no idea.
I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Left? I think
You
it's
figure
left.
it
I
out.
think it's so the setup
Heil
is that
Heil Hitler.
the setup is like Jojo is hiding this Jewish girl in his
Anne
house. So
Frank.
Jojo's mom is adding like a little alternative Anne Frank. Just more fun than Anne Frank.
Totally more fun than Anne Frank.
So Nazis, like the SS or the Gestapo, it's like Gestapo, right? The Gestapo walk into the house and they're doing like a random inspection.
Yeah.
And there's like 6 of them, and every time they come in, they Heil Hitler the kid, and the kid like Heil Hitler's back.
Yeah.
And then they keep going when like 2 other characters walk into the house and they Heil Hitler everyone twice. So then you're laughing about the commitment about the joke.
And you made that comment like after the first round of heiling. Like I love it when they commit the long jokes and then they go
no idea.
And then they go to this Batman's Robin and he's just like Heil Hitler and it's another round.
So he goes like 3 times because it's like one with Jojo.
Repetition, man. Rule of threes.
All the way around with like then it's Sam Rockwell's character all the way around, and then there's Alfie, whatever his name is. He's from Game of Thrones. All the way around to Heil Hitler's, but then immediately after that, they see the Jewish girl in the house who's pretending to be
bold-ass move.
Bold-ass move.
Non-Jewish.
She's pretending to be Jewish, like non-Jewish Jojo's sister, and they go and Heil Hitler her. and she's forced
she's
to
in
Heil
that
Hitler
super
them back.
important position,
Exactly.
and she's in like medium close up. I think it was,
Yeah,
or
it was
close up.
medium.
And you just see it on her face, and like she draws out the
100%.
moment, and the tension is there, and it's like, holy fuck, you had this great comedic setup, and then you bring it to that. It was
the change of the context, and the actor, I have no idea who she is. I feel I've seen her in something, but I don't know who she is. But she's great with the micro expressions, right?
Yeah,
and you can see her lip like. You can see anger, and you can see frustration. You can see like her pride is wounded.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was pride, especially.
And then she goes and she takes a little pause, and then she goes and fucking does it. Oof.
Yeah. That was a really cool scene, and it's like, to me, that scene was one of that whole setup, that whole scene was like really one of the best parts of the film. Like, it really captures what was so strong about that film. To me, like, film is about contrasts. Like, just as it is with lighting, it's all about, it's not all light, it's not all shadows, it's about contrast. Same thing with this setup. It's like the comedy is so goddamn ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then the tension and the drama was also very like hard hitting.
Oh, 100%. And I think
that scene with the butterfly.
Oh fuck! I think
it catches you off guard. Like, I didn't expect that.
And it's something that I love, and something I 100% want to incorporate in my movies more, like changing the genre, not from one scene to another, but even in the same scene. Because in this sense, you have a piece that it's the Heil Hitler one. It's like, oh, we're laughing our asses off and we're a comedy, and then it changes to, oh, holy shit! Like, you see the first attention that they're gonna catch the girl, but also the emotional. Distress that having to Heil Hitler this bunch of assholes must cause on a person, and the pride and all the build-up that's coming behind it. And I think,
you think it
in
switched
a way,
genres, though?
Not genres, but emotional tone.
Yeah.
In that particular scene, because it's not as big throughout the movie to change genres. But in that sense, I think that we are disarmed by the comedy.
Yeah.
So we're in a state of like, oh fuck yeah, we're just having great fun.
You're ready.
So you
to
open
take
yourself,
everything.
exactly. You're looking for it, and then when you're open, like, it changes and hits you. The scene with the butterfly, it's a scene of like, oh, wonder, because we have that. They've drawn the parallels with like the butterflies in the stomach when you like someone, and Jojo's starting to have feelings for Elsa. And he sees the butterfly, and the butterfly reminds him of him. So we're like, oh shit! He's realizing he's
seeing the beauty, and it's like he's seeing the beauty, and it's like it's gotten like people are loading up bazookas and stuff. Yeah. But he's seeing the beauty in the world,
and then
and then it all
follows the butterfly and looks up. And second warning for spoilers. If you were like, fuck it, how much can they spoil? Like, whatever. So like, no, this is the moment.
I ruined it.
That was the moment when you needed to fuck off. I watched the movie, but like...
We told you to fuck off, so in our defense.
That's true.
Should we be telling our audience to fuck off?
Fuck off momentarily, go watch the movie if you care about spoilers. Yes. But then come back, please.
Yes.
Come back. So... that moment where you felt I felt like almost in this state of innocence, because throughout the movie I think you have this push and pull for, like, if we want to get into this like really fucking whitey shit means and whatnot and get artsy with it.
Well, I mean, it was a hell of a motif that he set up, so it's 100% artsy. So we got to get into the artsy analysis.
For me, the artsy is that Jojo represents the soul of Germany. And he is this innocent kid that's being pulled from one side that says your duty to the fatherland, your duty to your government, and everybody telling him, right? Like, he imagines Hitler as his imaginary friend, but at the same time he has his wife that's pulling on the other direction and trying to remind him of his innocence and the joy and the beauty and the art. Dancing, a lot of dancing. When he's talking to Elsa about like great Germans and great Jewish people, she says like, you're going with musicians, right? Like all the people that they bring up, they're either artists or musicians or poets. So it's like you see all the great artists that Germany has contrasted to this like political military might of Germany, right? So I think you've got those two sides pulling for the soul of Germany, which is Jojo. So we revert to that point of innocence in him, and I think it's transmitted in a very competent, in a very good way to the audience. And just in that moment, he looks up and he sees his mom.
The shoes.
The
That's what I love about that scene, man. It's like that was the payoff for all of these like beautiful motifs, and it's like the dancing is also. So the mom is like always dancing, and we always see like. What I loved about it is it's not just like forceful shot coverage. It's not like you're shooting on the ground. It's that the mom is like standing on this like bleacher that's higher, right? So you have the shot on his level, and then you have her shoes that are there dancing, and it's like all of that was just this beautiful playfulness across like the whole film. And then of course you see it coming. Well, you don't see it coming, but you know it's a motif. There's this motif with the shoes being tied and one thing like you said, the reference to that period of time, like in Germany with the shoes and
I think it's in the Holocaust Museum that they have a huge thing with like all the shoes of the people, because when they took the Jewish people into concentration camps, and I mean other people too, there's just Jewish, but the majority were Jewish. But all these people that took the concentration camps, they took off their shoes.
Hey, I want to waste good shoes.
So there's
feel bad for saying that.
Sorry. So there's, I know that in the Holocaust Museum they have these like tons of shoes that it's like meant to show you like how many people they took. So
which is awesome.
Shoes are a motif for this whole extermination genocide that happened in the Holocaust.
And he connects it with the dancing as well. So there's like these two motifs that keep coming back, like the conversation about being free and dancing, and then the shoes.
And also him not being able to tie the shoes.
Yeah. I thought that whole visual symbolism was really good. And that's one thing I found about him is like he really works with like a shit ton of visual symbolism, right? So when like after he tells Anne Frank that
Elsa.
After he tells her that basically the Germans won the war, fake news.
Little Nazi shit.
After he tells her that, it's like opens up the book, and that part to me felt like a little bit, nailing the hammer on the head. But at the same time, like the second page he flips, it's like the rabbit is in the cage and he's trying to hold on. It's like that whole, he's kind of like struggling with the whole like what is the rabbit kind of throughout the film.
Yeah.
And he's like, he becomes the rabbit hiding at one point in the burrow. Is that what they call it? Is it a burrow? I think it's a burrow. He burrows in there.
It's like a basement.
It was more of a basement.
I don't know what it was, honestly.
But anyways, he's like a rabbit just burrowing down into the ground, and he just goes in there and hides from all the chaos. He is kind of like the rabbit there. But it's like this rabbit metaphor keeps coming across throughout the whole film, and it's kind of like he's trying to get a grasp. I feel like that was one of the éléments déclencheurs, actually, with the inciting incident was the whole killing the rabbit thing, because that was like his main struggle throughout the whole thing. It was like, how do I become the rabbit? What is the rabbit? Who is Jojo Rabbit kind of thing. Is that the name of the film? Did I get it? Oh my god, learning.
Fuck yeah.
Learning. Yeah, I think that was really cool, and it's so that whole symbolism in the end of like the rabbit is in the cage, and basically the rabbit is Anne Frank, and he's kind of like holding on to her because he doesn't want to let her go, like because he's lost his mom, lost his dad. It's gnarly. It was a hell of a good film.
Yeah, for sure. It's great. Like cinematography, direction, like everything about it.
So let's bring back the conversation about visual symbolism, bringing it back to that whole niche audience and more wide scale mass appeal. How do you feel about directors and films that have a lot of visual symbolism? Like, do you feel like that goes over? It probably goes over a lot of people's head, but does it still have an impact? Is it douchey? Like, how do you feel about it?
I think that in a way, like in a way, your audience, even though they might not 100% get it, like we're kind of hardwired to notice patterns and understand that kind of shit, and it's. They appeal to kind of like the meta narrative of like the human shit and archetypes and all that fucking like literary stuff, right? So I think that in some way by being there, you're gonna associate. For example, when we go back to the shoes, characters change shoes a lot. Well, not like a lot, but like Jojo has like different kinds of shoes.
I did not pay attention.
And normally, like let's say, no, I'm not a shoe guy, but it's just like
I didn't notice.
But like for example, like you are directing a film, and if it doesn't matter, you're probably gonna have like
you're cutting to close up on the shoes. It matters.
Well, it matters in these movies. In this movie, 100%. But imagine that like it's what any other movie that you've done, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna have your costume person. And you say, all right, like, give me an outfit for this person.
I had that question.
Give me
what kind of shoes do you want? Shoes.
Yeah,
shoes.
So it's up to the costume designer
to find her justification.
Exactly. Or his.
Or Serge.
I have no idea. Is that the thing?
Serge? Yeah, Serge, il est bon en tabarnak avec les souliers.
Okay. Oh wait, hang on.
Serge is a name kind of like Juan, but Quebecer. I love how you're downing this. Holy.
Like Sergio.
Damn, I just want. Could you imagine? I just huck it on the wall.
I just knew you were going for a second. I ain't gonna fucking stay behind. Thank you very much. So, in general,
I got none of those. Not even remotely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're making the film and there's no importance, most likely your actors are going to change shoes.
Yeah.
Well, not your actors, but the characters, because the costume designer is going to say, like, with this outfit I can get the shoes in, with this outfit I can get the shoes in. And in this sense, like, I did notice Jojo changes, like, into a uniform, and then he has, like, his regular clothes, and then he has the other kind of uniform when he's in the indoctrination camp. So he changes shoes, and we see his shoes a lot, but his mom is always wearing the same shoes.
The same shoes, you're right.
And it's important because it's a character trait.
It's character development.
And as you say,
because she knows where she's at in life, and she is this way, and she dances, and she has these playful shoes that are red and white, and they're very flamboyant, just as she is.
Exactly. So cool. In the movie, there's this shot. He's chasing the butterfly, and we see him chasing the butterfly, and then it pans up. You see the tilt? It tilts up.
I think it tilts.
It tilts up, and you see him face level with some hanging person that's being hanged. And we've seen them, the people that have been hanged before. It's set up perfectly. Cool, but we see the shoes.
Yeah.
The shoes that we've seen Scarlett Johansson wear throughout all the film, and immediately you get it. It's her.
Yeah. It's such a great moment, man. That whole what you were saying about the shoes. So it's interesting too because like her personality is very fixed. She knows what she is. She knows what she does. She knows her view in life, and he's evolving.
Right.
So I'd be curious to like go back and watch the shoes, kind of to see how his shoes have evolved according to his place where he's at with the whole like war effort and everything. Because like if I was in the director's seat, I know I would literally have a map of like where is my character in terms of his acceptance of the Nazi party versus being more of a free spirit. I would have it mapped out like this scene is like this level of acceptance. This scene is like that level of acceptance. So it's like I'd be curious.
I would probably like guarantee that the moments when he is most Nazi-ish, he's probably wearing like military boots.
Yeah.
And the moments where he's like considering when he's having his conversations with notice that Elsa didn't have shoes.
Oh, let's get into that.
Remember when he sees Elsa for the first time that he goes into hiding place? They frame the feet first and they look up and like she's not wearing shoes. And I think that
it's a lack of control. I think that's what it is because so the mom is in control of how she sees the world. The kid is kind of like evolving in how he sees the world, and she's just like she has no control. So she has. Fuck, that's so cool.
And one thing that I 100% like know that, well, not 100%, but like I'm sure that that's a thing. It's like on the tying of the shoes, right? Yeah. So at first he's not able to tie his shoes. They make fun of him for not being able to tie his shoes. Even his mom makes fun of him for not being able to tie his shoes.
What a dork.
At some point in the movie, and you pointed it out, like his mom ties the shoelaces together and he falls. Yeah.
It was like
and she just goes around and she's going up the stairs. There's a beautiful wide shot of some stairs. and she's going up the stairs, and he can't go up the stairs because his shoes are tied together. And eventually, when the movie ends and he's taking Elsa out into the street, he ties her shoes.
Yeah, that was dope.
So he's putting shoes in like on her feet and tying them like in a way that
cool.
his mom used to tie his shoes.
So he's kind of like symbolizing that he's kind of like not he's kind of taken care of her, and he's kind of gonna support her and bring her. Man, I think that this film. That's one of the things for me with like visual symbolism. Like I try to work in visual symbolism as much as I can. Like there's just hearts and crosses everywhere, and like
that's because you're possessed by something that we don't really know what it is.
I might have also murdered somebody on Instagram with an axe.
Yeah.
But I think like they work on people because you have like now that we're taking the time to talk about it and like break it apart. Like what does this mean? What does that mean? Blah blah blah. Man, there's something so powerful in there with like that. I think that's what's so cool about film, man, is like you can say a story through like the words, through the symbols, through what camera angles you're taking, there's so many things you can control. And I really thought this film was masterful as hell. Like
100%.
Honestly, holy shit. Great film. Because I think, well, to me, like one of my, main tenets, I think, in my approach.
The tenets!
Yeah. Is like, you got to work in as many details as you can, like handle as many aspects of the craft in much detail. So very good art
but
design.
As a director?
Yeah, as a director. I think that's like an approach is like you got to work in as many details as you can and do those and eventually you're going to get this great film. And I feel like, that film did the shit out of that. Like the visual symbolism, like he went hard on it. And it's part of and everything in this film worked. I loved it. It's awesome.
There's a lot of attention to detail. Like not just in the shoes, the cinematography is amazing. Like we get some
everything's like poetic,
Yeah.
Even though it's silly AF.
Well, I think that's the kind of that duality
that
that makes it work, right?
Yeah.
Because honestly, like right now, I see a film of World War II and like the Jews and stuff. Oh my god.
Oh god, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Yeah. How many times has that been done?
Exactly. But this approaching it with this humor, but it's not just we're making fun of Hitler, and as a kid's imaginary friend, which, by the way, it was Taika Waititi acting as Hitler.
Oh, that was him?
That was him.
Oh, shit.
He acts in his movies a lot.
Damn, that's crazy.
He's actually a very good actor.
Yeah. He was a great Hitler.
Yeah.
He was so childish where he's spit in the spaghetti or whatever, and then he just kicks the chair. So good.
Well, but it's kind of
I love visual comedy like that, man.
And talking about visual comedy, we're gonna get back to this point. But the Edgar Wrightness of the movie.
Edgar Wrightness and that other guy, Wes Anderson.
Oh yeah,
so hard.
I'm actually curious about the cinematographer because I like the style of how everything is framed is very Wes Anderson.
Once in a while, like not all the time,
because
you can't go too Wes Anderson.
Because then you'll be Wes Anderson.
Don't go full Wes Anderson.
But I think I think that at the very least, Taika Waititi has the influences. I bet that if you had an interview with him, you could see that like he loves Edgar Wright, he loves Wes Anderson. And
I can't imagine him saying Edgar who?
Yeah, 100%. No.
Can't imagine it.
You've got the editing. There's
very much
the visual comedy of Edgar Wright. The fast cuts.
Basic.
And it was just once, and it felt like a nod.
No, it was a couple of times.
The fast cuts.
There was a couple of fast cuts. He introduces scenes very often with fast cuts. He's like, bum, 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 here's all the ridiculous, and then action, and you're like, okay.
The jumping out of the window.
Oh, I fucking love that. Jumping out of the windows is so hot right now. I'm all about it.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think people can expect the jumping out of the window in the next shit we do.
Well, I mean, the long version has some jumping out of the window.
That's true.
So long version of the trailer.
That's true.
So much work.
Just stared blankly into space like,
The rest of the podcast is just me looking at the floor.
Did you ever see that? There's this interview with Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill after I think it was Batman versus Superman, and
I for sure didn't see it.
It was just like this thing. The movie had like very mixed reviews. Like fans liked it, critics hated it. It was kind of one of those things. And there's this interview in which like they have Henry Cavill that does Superman and Ben Affleck who does Batman. And I don't know what they asked them, but like Henry Cavill's just giving this answer, and Ben Affleck is just there like sitting there like looking into space, just like, and people edited it with like a slow zoom into Ben Affleck's like face. That's very. That's.
I wish I liked anything superhero related even remotely, because then I'd be more normal.
I suppose it's weird that shit's mainstream now.
Oh, it's not weird. It's like they bought the rights for billions of dollars and now they're milking it.
Well, yeah, but no, but like for example, we've had comic book and graphic novel movies for a very long time.
Yeah.
And they weren't that big of a hit. They would make money, but for example, like Blade. Do you remember Blade?
Oh, fucking rights, I do.
Blade is a Marvel character.
Blade was great. Really?
Yeah.
Shit.
Blade started, I think, in Spider-Man.
What?
Like in Spider-Man comics, Blade came out. Then he got his own thing. Damn. So Blade is a Marvel
Blade's
movie.
A great character for Spider-Man. He's like he could be the great antithesis, because like Spiderweb, nope, cut it with my blade.
Well, but he's right? Kind of like the anti-hero. He's not a villain, but he's kind of like an anti-hero. And there's like
he's like a hero unbeknownst to himself, kind of thing.
Well, like, he's just like, I'm out to kill vampires and shit, because like cool. They bit my mom and they turned me into like the Daywalker, and shit. But and fucking Wesley Snipes was fucking great in the 90s, man. Like, fuck, what's he up to now? Where the fuck?
He died. Coronavirus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shame.
Shame.
Absolute shame. He was so fucking
Didn't
good.
make the news. Media. Just
don't cover that shit. Blackout.
Yeah. Total blackout. It's a blacker. Now gotta go blackout.
That was not an intentional joke.
I liked it.
Yeah, no, that was great. So Blade's a Marvel character. Yeah. They're actually doing a movie with one of the vampire characters from like Spider-Man. That's Mobius. It's gonna star Jared Leto in it.
So it's gonna be a massive hit.
Probably. I don't know. Like after his fucking Joker, but whatever. Not going.
Wait, you didn't like it?
The Jared Leto's Joker?
Yeah.
Nah, no.
Oh wait, which one was? Oh yeah, it was like the weird. Yeah.
His it wasn't the Suicide Squad. No, he was like a.
The whole Suicide Squad.
That's a fucking
superhero.
I'll tell you how big of a thing it was, to the point that the new DC just fucking
thick.
The most recent DC Comics movie came out, Birds of Prey.
Yup.
Have you heard anything about that movie?
I heard it was shit.
Really? I haven't heard anything.
Because nobody went to see it.
Nobody went and saw it. Nobody.
It was literally like, if you want to dip out from coronavirus, be sure not to get it. Just go watch that movie.
Yeah, exactly. You're sitting there.
But I might.
I've heard shit about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
I've heard good shit.
I actually heard really good shit.
Really good shit. I'd want to watch that.
You know what? We could get super high and watch Sonic at some point.
Yeah,
I kind of want to pay money.
Maybe
for
before
it,
the next one.
Yeah.
Dude, of course. We always pay money for our films.
I hear that, yes, as everybody should, because we support the industry. We support the studios. We love the studios. Yeah. Can we have money for movies now? Studio 5. So, we're talking about Edgar Wright.
I can talk about Edgar Wright all day. Is this fucking with my audio? Do I sound weirder? I probably sound weirder. Why am I doing this? We're talking about Edgar Wright.
We're talking about Edgar Wright, and you started doing that.
What did you want to say about Edgar?
I don't know. I feel that we just went into that tangent and kind of didn't explore it.
We were talking about, the fast cutting and the references and, well, not references, but definite influences from Edgar Wright. I think Edgar Wright is the Hitchcock of visual comedy. He invented, so many films now have that, fast cutting on mundane bullshit, which is so good. So that's one of the Edgar Wright kind of classics that's in everything now. It's kind of like Hitchcock's Doom Shot, that zoom, that dolly out zoom in.
Yeah. We started in Vertigo.
From Vertigo, exactly. Yes. So
film history.
Yeah. So Hitchcock invented so many of these techniques or whatever. He basically came up with a lot of these things that you find in tons of films today. I think Edgar Wright's the same thing for visual comedy, man. This guy has Yeah, he's copied so many times, and I think that it's kind of also hard to kind of innovate from it. But the way that those techniques were incorporated in this film was not too over the top. It was it was really well.
I think it would be too much if he leaned into them.
If he would have added a, I would have been like, nope,
too
hard.
No. Yeah. But I think that it's weird because like you can see the influence, but still he maintains his own style.
Yeah.
Which I 100% recommend. Like, check out What We Do in the Shadows and check out Hunt for the Wilder People, and you will see almost an evolution of what he's been doing.
Be really interested actually to like discover his like filmography in order, kind of like it. Actually, I think there's a lot. I don't watch films. I'm shit for this.
Say it. Say the thing you said earlier.
I'm not gonna.
Just say it. Say it or I'll say it for you.
All right. I don't watch films. I make them. Which is so douchey. But like I used to watch a fuck ton of films. Like I used literally like with my family. I used to watch every Friday we would rent. Back when video stores were a thing, we would rent.
I hear Videotron was a
great.
renting store.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, that's originally
Somebody
what it was before
told
they
me
did.
that. Like I have a friend.
Yeah, it was way bigger than like not bigger than Blockbuster, but it was
we had
more
Blockbusters
notorious.
in Mexico.
I bet, yeah. But this was like more notorious locally. But they had everything, and their marketing was great and everything. So yeah. But we used to rent like 3 or 4 movies every weekend. And we would like literally, I remember we would go there. I think there was also Tuesdays. That's when the films would come out on Tuesdays. Great idea, because isn't the most boring day Tuesday? So like you'd put out a film, it's like, ooh, now it's a thing.
Yeah,
Tuesdays are great.
True. And we still have the cheaper movie tickets on Tuesdays.
That's dope. Anyways, so we would rent like 4 films, and I used to watch a bunch of films, and like recently I haven't watched so many films. Mm-hmm. So I'd be like, there's a bunch that I'm not even up to date with Tarantino's shit, and I love Tarantino.
Oh, dude.
So I need to watch his last films. I also love Scorsese, but I have not watched most of his films.
I think that's
I'm like the weird.
with
It's weird.
Yeah.
So I'd be down to like watch this guy whose name I can't pronounce because I have shit memory.
And it's a weird name.
Taika
Waititi.
I'd be down to like watch his films in order of creation, because that's really interesting, because you get to see the style evolving. Yeah.
I'm curious to find his short film that won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Because I know it's like way back. It wasn't like 2 or 3 years ago. It's like 10, like maybe more years ago. He won that Oscar, then he kind of just like, I don't know what he did for a while. Mm-hmm. And then he came back. When he did come back, he stayed in New Zealand doing his shit, right? But that's actually an interesting question. So, kind of a side note, maybe for like next time we do this, we watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, dude, I need to watch that. Yeah.
There's so much to talk about with that movie.
Have you watched it?
Oh fuck yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
I actually watched it with Jonathan in theaters.
Damn, I'm
It was
super
good.
jealous.
It was good. Fuck, where was we going with this?
You were talking about the Irish potato famine.
The Irish potato famine. Yeah, for sure. You know there were 2 of them?
2 famines? Yeah, there were 2 waves.
There were 2 waves. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was awesome. No, awesome in scale.
Okay. As in the biblical sense of it was awesome. Kneel before thy God and his awesome power.
That's right. But you were talking about watching something with Jonathan Van Der Zee. You were talking about
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's right.
So no. My question for you is like, do you think as a filmmaker there's a point in which you need to stop looking at movies with the I'm a filmmaker kind of lenses on, so that you can be more true to finding your style and doing your own shit, or should you always be absorbing everything?
It's hard to say, man. I think it's like it's a style thing, right? So any approach is a good approach, like whatever works for you, kind of thing. I think like for me, not watching as many films as of late is kind of like probably made my style a little weirder. But people like weird works, you know, as long as you have a grasp. I think filmmaking to me is like there's a set of rules that need to, like codes and rules that need to be followed, and then you kind of break out of those once you kind of like master it. And I'm not saying I have done that, but like that's kind of the evolution into finding your style. So like if you're constantly watching films, there's one way where you can kind of like analyze the codes and understand them and break them is that you're seeing it. But you're also seeing how other people break the codes, so you kind of like lean hard into that, right? You can be like, oh, I can just fast cut into these mundane details that nobody would ever cover, and it makes it hilarious. And it also advances the plot. Edgar Wright, that fast cutting. So you can do that, and then you kind of like end up borrowing other people's style, which I think is like a cool thing also. But if you're kind of like, I think for me, like going individually, like I haven't watched that much stuff like as of late. I don't know, probably like anything will help your style, man. Like whatever you're doing, as long as you're doing it, it'll help your style. Like you just gotta
keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I think so. It's like I don't know.
It's an interesting question because like
it's hard to say while you're in it. I think like hindsight might be a way for me to analyze, but like right now I'm like too in it. I feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm starting to have a style, but I also have to like tone down some parts of it, and then like so it's a constant evolution.
It's like I don't know. Maybe it's for me it's kind of project based.
Yeah.
Because the more you see, the more of a kind of like a library of references that you have, right? And it's not necessarily that you're gonna. I mean, the problem would be with like, oh, there's this movie that I love, and I'm just gonna almost like paint by numbers kind of shit. Like I'm gonna do this shit, I'm gonna do these cuts, I'm gonna do this whatever. But just to give an example, when we did the Kino trailer, right? The main influence for that was Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Edgar Wright. And I remember, like, we sat down and we watched the movie and we took notes.
Shit ton of
you
notes.
were pausing the movie and writing, like, this minute, this is the transition. And, I mean, specifically, you were looking for transitions, right?
But also catching a lot of other stuff.
Right, and I think, like, it's a different eye with which you catch a movie when you're looking at it in that way, right? Because you're studying and you're dissecting and you're, like, learning in that sense.
In that specific film language.
Exactly. But by the end of the film, you could probably see it and say like, all right, there's these Edgar Wright elements that you put into the trailer, but it stands more as its own thing because it kind of like mutated into it, you know?
Oh man, it mutated like crazy.
It's very interesting, at least for me, from like seeing the whole process because.
Like being in the process because you were like my right hand man on this thing.
But, I was just like, that's around.
Being right in the thick of it.
Hey, we need somebody to be the first AD you down. I was like, that's a fucking.
Go back to bed. We're shooting tomorrow,
dude. I was like, I actually woke up to that message, and it's like a fucking message like this long, and you were like, oh my god, this guy crapped in me, and it's like a fuck. Let's do it.
That thing was nuts.
But since day one, like we all put our like DNA into that. Like we were writing together. You and Zoe came up with the general idea at first. Then we were writing the screenplay together. But even at that moment, you had this idea, like it's gonna be these humorous, like Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright was one thing that you knew coming into
there.
But then we
really got lost in the production side of it. But I think the essence of it stayed.
Wait, but do you think it got lost? Because, I mean, you say lost, and I think of it kind of like in a, maybe not negative, but like in
It's an interesting way. It's like, it kind of became its own thing, which is cool.
But would you say that the film lost its Edgar Wrightness, or that the film evolved into its own thing?
Yeah, I think it evolved into its own thing. Like, Joe Nathan kept highlighting like a bunch of different points about how... he kept being like, no, man, this is really, like, super Edgar Wright, you know, we got bosses instead of monsters, and, like, I think it's kind of just being, like, you're putting your focus on, we want to do something in this, like, area. You're focused on solution, like, your solution process will be oriented with that in mind, like, close, right? So it's like, oh, we don't have anyone for VFX except freaking Tudor in Romania. Shout out to Tudor. But we can't do monsters. We gotta rewrite. And then how do we do it? Because if we don't have monsters and there's nothing to replace that, then our whole scenario falls apart. What do? So we're like bosses.
Scenario for the non-French speaking kids out there is screenplay.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it's like
Just gonna add like subtitles whenever you say something like Quebecer in there.
Tabarnak.
Puta madre. Puta madre.
But yeah, it's like that's like one good example of you're not thinking like let's do this Edgar Wright like, but since you're observing Edgar Wright really close and you have it, well, not in our case Scott Pilgrim versus the World, you have that close by in your brain. What ends up happening is that your solution, they end up looking like that, right? They kind of end up gravitating towards, like, the solutions kind of like you find them through that work. And I think that's all I had to say about that.
But still, like, you put it out, but it's not Edgar Wright, you know. It's like Edgar Wright through the matte rich filter, through like the Studio 5 filter. Yeah,
my thing about that whole, like, I'm happy it kind of like became a different thing than Scott Pilgrim versus the World homage, because and it ended up happening.
Yeah, at one point it was 100%. Oh, not 100%, but it was like it's gonna be a homage.
That's how we were messaging people and everything, and like I ended up losing control of that because of the circumstances where, I mean, I literally had to do first AD work and send out emails and shit instead of I had time planned to review my notes and be like, okay, this scene needs a transition. What is the transition? And then you have all my list of like all the different transitions we can do, and like I had some that I wanted to play on. I didn't have any time to review those notes, so it's like, and it was mostly like I wanted to lean hard on the transitions because we have this story that's being told across time and like across, it's like a bi-generational thing, and it's also this story that's also connected, but it's also not connected. So like there's a lot of space for transitions, and that ended up going out through the window, except a couple of transitions that still made it in there because I knew those were going to be there from the start. So yeah, it's like that. It sucked because like I didn't get to do those, but it became its own thing. So it's awesome because like you don't want to be somebody's, you know, you don't want to be like Edgar Wright light or Wes Anderson person who goes to CJEP and makes Wes Anderson films. It's like, I have a style. No, you just make copies of Wes Anderson
like
stuff.
Low-key dissed someone, you know?
No, like every CJEP person.
What was that? Was that kind of like your generation of CJEP? Everybody was like, "Oh, Wes Anderson, man."
Well, it's like the cliche, like not really, but it's like the cliche. It's like everyone kind of just thinks they have a style, but all they do is just frame everything symmetrical and just have these like Wes Anderson like characters and like, I'm offbeat. I'm an artist. You know,
it's weird because
it's like you got to go through imitation, but you got to understand what works about it so that it becomes your own thing and you twist it into something else. You know. But let's watch your puppet thing, because Fano did a puppet thing.
We did a puppet thing. We shouldn't be telling people it's a puppet thing.
Shit, I fucked up.
Yeah, it's kind of like the punchline. It's like you start the joke with like, and then the bartender says like, wait, no. So a horse, a priest, and a rabbi walk into a bar.
Fuck you! You're not what it looks like.
No, let's not move on. Honey, I need another scream. Do it again. Cut! 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 Line!
That's it! I am not doing this again. We are moving on because I am done.
Fuck it! Cut your puppet!
Oh, you should have brought the puppets.
I should have brought the puppets.
Fuck it, cut the puppet. It cuts back to us, and we're like on the chair. Oh man.
Can you call a 2-minute thing a movie?
I think you can. It's a moving image.
It's a movie. It's a talkie and a movie.
It's a talkie and a movie and a stabby.
A stabby. And a poppy.
Yeah. Okay, we just watched Surfano de Belmont's puppet short.
Puppet short, yes.
Okay, wait. I want to introduce it.
All right, you
Because it's your film.
You should introduce,
the context.
The context of it.
Yeah.
The context is important.
So, Surfano de Belmont has committed to doing the Kino challenges.
Fuck,
this
now
year.
it's on the internet.
Yes, it's on the internet.
No, porque...
Okay. Fully committed. Yeah. So, you committed to doing one short every month. Which I think is dope because I think that's the coolest thing about the Kino movement. It's the idea of making one short every month. No matter what the conditions, you just make it happen, and they have challenges every month.
Oh my god.
And this week, was Puppet.
Puppet.
Which is great because we had this idea about cutting to puppet.
Yes.
And you did it!
Wait, where's the cut to puppet?
It's probably moved since we did it. There's a lot of post-its.
So many post-its.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, mostly like 99.9 fucking percent of the people that are gonna watch this
Yeah.
at first are gonna know what the fuck Kino is, but Kino, is it like a movement?
Yeah, Kino's like a
It's
movement.
It's
that
an
is now
organization.
in over 70 different countries, or 70 different branches in countries across the world. And it's based on the principle of making films with basically other filmmakers on a collaborative basis, not for money, not for festivals, just to make films and practice and get shit done. And so you did one of those.
So yeah,
Tell me,
two of those.
So we knew, yeah, it's true. You're at 2 now, and you're going for the whole year. So what was you knew you wanted to cut the puppet. You knew you wanted that. How did you get how did you go about this idea? What did you want to do with it?
So
tell me words about your film.
The main thing, like the cut to puppet was a punchline, right? And cut to puppet has been a joke we've had.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even know how to start. I think it was your joke, right?
Probably. I make jokes sometimes.
And one of those like offhanded remarks of yours that just turned into a fucking joke, and
Yeah.
then it turned into something weird and
Beautiful
thing. But it's like, as Matt was saying, we have these cut to puppet posted somewhere.
We've had it on this here window for months.
It went somewhere else.
We just wrote, fuck it, cut to puppet.
And for a different project, don't worry about it.
Project Falcon.
We had don't worry about it. We had this idea of what the cut to puppet was gonna be.
Yeah.
And Kino, every month they give you these challenges. They give you a theme. You make a movie in 2 minutes or less, I suppose. And they give you a theme. And this month's theme was Marionette.
Oh, Marionette.
Hun.
Who laughs like that again?
The French.
In West
Not the
Park?
Quebecers. No, like in...
in general.
In making fun of the French. Not the Quebecers.
Yes,
the
that's right.
French. Different things. Don't
Very-
get them mixed up. Don't
That is correct.
mistake. So the moment they announced at every
Dude, we
screening,
got
they
all
announced
so excited when they said it was Puppet.
Yeah.
We all looked at each other and we went, oh!
So that moment, we all knew it had to be a cut to puppet,
totes.
Defi or challenge.
Yeah.
The horror and murder element kind of came around because I thought of something we would not be able to do that much with live action.
Okay.
We kind of did it.
What do you
which
mean?
Was
something you can't. Oh, you mean like stabbing somebody in the stomach and having guts?
Yeah,
everywhere?
having like their
Not for a
stuffing.
diffie. You're not gonna do that. Like it costs like.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
it costs like $600 to have.
And you
I've
say
done
that. No, that's actually like.
You're not gonna do that for a 2 minute
like,
diffie,
I would
yeah.
like. Can I think of a little tangent? I've been meaning to ask you about that for your movie Violeur, which I'm totally like mispronouncing the fucking word.
I love how you violated the pronunciation. It made it
That's
so much
interesting,
cooler.
like double layers and puzzles.
Yeah,
Like I've been because it looks so fucking real. The stabbing, you did some great stabbing and like blood coming out.
The trick is stabbing an actual person and erasing the history that the person existed, so you don't get caught.
That makes fucking sense.
It does.
Are you doing it to yourself?
Yeah.
No, it looks
you have
great, but
PAs for that.
it costs you about $600.
$600 for the prothèse.
That is dope.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to put into it. But I mean,
No, but if you're doing something,
it
honestly,
was
like
the most important moment in
I
that
would-
film. Everything is centered around that. That is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
point where the message comes across. So it's like, let's go.
So I mean, for a deafie, obviously, like
Of course
these
you're not
things
gonna
are
do
no budget really,
Yeah.
and everybody is down to do them for like
That's
the
what's cool about
practice
it.
and the fun of it.
Yeah.
That's an awesome Kino thing. But like if we're thinking about a short, and I personally like horror, and I want to do more horror.
Yeah, you're a hell of a horror guy.
So I've had do horror in my head for a while, and you know it's.
I'm sorry, did you say do whores in your head?
No.
Horror.
No.
Sorry, horror. No.
No.
Yes.
No.
I don't know anymore. So
Can you
horror.
repeat the question?
You were doing. You wanted
Yes,
to do horror.
I want to do horror, and I want to do more horror.
Yeah.
So you know, if we're thinking about, hey, let's make a short, let's submit it to some horror festivals, this kind of shit, like $600 for a kick-ass like stabbing, like man,
Worth it.
That's worth it. It's not fucking easy money because fucking $600, like, but it will, as you say, you know, it'll make the film. It's important, like, so let's fucking put the money down. So immediately with the puppet gives you a great advantage because, like, dude, we have puppet titties in that, right?
The puppet titties are the best.
We have puppet titties. We have like an open like wound with the puppet
Stomach vagina. You called it.
I think you call it.
I don't know who called it.
It sounds
but
like
I
a Matt.
remember
It
you
sounds
calling
like a
it.
Matt Rich thing to
It
call
does,
it.
but I remember you referring to it as the stomach vagina, and I loved it.
I mean, it was a thing.
It was.
How can I
was
cannot
gross.
resist the flow of.
I hated and loved everything about it. So you were talking about. What were you talking about?
I was talking about like where the idea came from,
Yeah.
and I remember I was talking to a friend during the past screening when they announced the thing, and she knew I was doing the whole 10 for the year, and she's like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know, maybe something like we cannot do with people, so
Nice.
either have like a really
Okay, so
gruesome."
that was like your first point of
The
direction.
first thing
like,
was exactly, let's do something we cannot do with people, take advantage.
That's
of
awesome.
I've got a.
That's a good approach.
I think that's kind of one of my approaches. Always leaning to the medium, no matter what. You
Yeah.
know, like for example, it's a little bit of a tangent of an explanation, but like you see adaptations of shit, and usually it's like adaptations are not so great. Obviously, there's some exceptions, and I think people are getting better at adapting things, but they have to take creative liberties because different mediums have different advantages.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
For example,
playing with the medium is the best.
So that's kind of the point. Like, if you read a novel, most of the shit that you are gonna see happens in the head of the protagonist, right? Like, you're a point of view. Usually, novels are point of view character, third person, right? So they tell you like, Matt took a sip of his beer, and now he feels a little bit uncomfortable as Fennel had just made him like a fucking character of these. He looked at the label and wondered, Corona. Are they really behind the coronavirus? Should I be drinking this? So that kind of shit, right? You cannot do that in film because in film you gotta show
it, don't say it,
exactly.
for fuck's sakes.
And you cannot show in film what the character in the writing of film what the character is thinking because you're not in their head. You know, you have the actor to express that through emotions, and you show even when you write a screenplay, right? You say like this happens, then this happens, then this happens. In a novel, you say this happens, the character thought about this, the character felt this, and then the character said this, which is a very different medium. So leaning into the advantages of a puppet theme. So like, okay, what can't we do with this budget? Violence? and sex. That's like the two things that came to my head.
Yeah.
Don't fucking read too much into that statement.
You could have sex with a puppet, though.
Well, I was the other
So you
alternative
did it?
was like almost kind of like a not like a porn, like a puppet porn,
yeah.
but like at some point, like I told Marianne that's like this my friend that's telling you about.
Yeah.
I was saying like either I'm gonna do like a porn or a murder. I don't know, maybe
You
both.
ended up doing a murder porn.
I did. I mean, there's
Yeah.
tits out, guts out.
Lots of guts.
Maybe that should be the
This
name.
film took guts. We talked about the extended cut online being the gutsier version.
The gutsier.
So people will expect it being gutsier for you to show more like, racy pictures of Carmelia and everything. But no, it's just more guts.
More puppet.
More puppet.
Oh, yeah,
murder.
puppet murder.
That's right.
Why was that so hard to say? So no, it was like that was the thing. Like cut to puppet was gonna be a thing. And the moment they announced the theme,
Yeah.
and then during that night, I was already thinking, okay, like either we're gonna kill some puppets or we're gonna have some puppets fuck.
I love it. Yeah.
So and again, it's like no budget. You're not gonna have, as you say, like we don't have $600 to stab someone. And we don't have money to
It's
pay
funny because
someone.
out of context, that sounds like there's this black market for stabbing, which, everyone knows. It costs
yeah,
$600 to be
stab
like,
a
hey,
pig.
can I stab you? Here's $600. Okay.
Yeah, you go to these bars. They're called stab bars.
Stab bars.
Real speakeasies, man. They're a Montreal thing. Like you go downstairs and you pay $600 to a guy. Fucking stab them once.
Yeah.
But they give you a discount, so 1,000
right.
to stab twice,
That's
and then
right.
1,200.
He gives you a hand job.
Yeah.
While you're stabbing him. That's weird. I'm not about it.
All right. So, disturbing image. That we're probably gonna just move
It's
on.
really weird. All the stabbing and hand movement, which is I don't like.
You're
it.
moving the knife with
I
the...
made the
I see
joke,
where
but I
you're...
regret it.
Yeah, this is weird.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna edit this out at some point.
Nah.
All right,
You probably
that's
find
good.
it funny.
So,
Nobody's gonna watch anyway.
what, you stabbing and hand
No,
jumping?
this thing
Oh, okay.
doesn't matter.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
That's
I
what
don't know.
we were
People are
saying.
still watching at this point. The next thing was
So you knew you were gonna stab or fuck.
Star Wars fuck, and there's puppet. There's
Yeah.
some puppet shit going on.
So when did you take it to slasher movie?
When the direction was like, I'd rather stab someone that fucks me.
Yeah.
In the movie with the puppets. I'd rather stab a puppet than fuck a puppet. There's no escaping how wrong this conversation
This
is
whole
going.
thing, I love it. I'm all about it.
So at that point, I started kind of like looking back and at classical slasher, the kind of shots that they do, and it's kind of one of those things like going back to the sources and the references. And it's one of those things that kind of evolved past the references too, because my main idea was like, oh, dude, we're gonna do it real cliche, real old school. We're gonna have the same kind of shots, but immediately that thing went out the window. I was like starting to write it, and then like for the first shot, I was like, oh, check out these noir shots. It would be kind of cool. So we had noir as an influence, and then I started writing, and me writing, I just go to the best case scenario, right? Like if I had unlimited money, writing doesn't cost shit. So unlimited money, whoever I want to cast, like all this shit.
Yeah, and then worst comes to worst, you rewrite.
Exactly.
You're the writer.
Did all that, put out, I had my reference lined up, so some Friday the 13th, Psycho, obviously, if you're gonna fucking stab somebody in the shower. But looking at the reference, I really didn't kind of like where that was going. And at that point, we had the conversation about cinematography. So we had the conversation about the alley with like, we're starting from like a shot. We see her walking, we see the legs. I think the script opens with like a girl walks alone at night. She's wearing a coat that doesn't really quite cover the skirt and the stockings underneath. Some shit like that. And I thought that was like a really good thing to capture the mood, right? So we're sexualizing the character.
Yeah, right from the top.
So it's the themes
which
of the
is
slasher
so
were there.
like 80s slasher, like
And I love 80s slasher, and I was like, you know what, we're gonna lean hard on this because you're given a topic, you're given theme puppets, but we set up the genre and the thing itself. So for me, Kino is kind of an opportunity to do film school.
Yeah, man.
So it says,
The best.
and personally, like when I went to school, I did
in space science.
in space. Well, space science was later.
Space politics. Man.
Space politics was later, but like my undergrad was in political science and art.
Okay.
Different thing, like I did a double major, and the art thing that I noticed was okay, like that. Oh, fuck you, Steve Jeff, piece of shit.
So
the art thing was like I had some experience like in art before I went to school.
Yeah.
And the thing about art school is not necessarily that they were going to teach you a lot how to draw and paint and do all this shit, but they're going to give you some tight-ass deadlines. And the tight-ass deadlines are going to be like, you're going to do this project by this time.
Do shit.
It's the discipline of the
best.
art that they teach you. So for me, Kino is that school in the sense that every month you have a project, and by the end of the year, you graduate film school. And since I never went to film school,
that's dope.
that's kind of thing. No matter what, that's the reason.
It's kind of like the nickname of you know what. It's kind of like street cred when you do the 12 months Kino challenge. That's your
the
film
Kino
school.
cred.
That's your film school.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it's I completely believe in it, man. It's that whole you get to practice so many things and you get so many you learn so many lessons. So that's actually probably my tangent to the next one is like
What do you learn in this one?
Yeah, what did you learn in this one?
100%. I learned. I learned so many things. You actually told me something very interesting about directing actors. That was like before you really go into details about the character and what they're doing at that moment. Listen to the actors and see what they see how they understand the character. Like know what you want.
Yeah.
But listen to how they interpret what you, especially since writing too,
just so that they have that liberty to be able to bring what they want to bring to the table and propose it. Because, I think, and because it's like that's a thing you realize. I learned that from Tarantino. I mean, we were hanging out, and he's like,
and you're like, Quentin, I really like your new movie. He's like, thanks, Matt. Let me give you a tip.
Exactly. But no, it's like. I heard it from a video of Tarantino, and it really resonated to me. It's very true, but there's this power dynamic where you're the person in charge of the film. So being in that position, whatever you say is golden, kind of. So people kind of, whatever you say you want, people will bend towards that more than you will bend towards what they will propose. At least that's kind of like what they feel. But I mean, if they have a good proposition, any good director will lean hard into their proposition, and you want to be able to hear what they have. But not only that, but you want to be able to make sure that they are capable of giving you these propositions throughout the thing, and it's
so being open to that.
Yeah.
Right? That was one of the things that I'm kind of excited to see that for the next
to work it into the next one,
and being more open, because in this one, especially for the actors, because I'm very happy with the actors that we got, but they didn't have that much acting experience.
Yeah.
And for the past one, I was working with Jonathan, with Melissa, and those kids got their fucking shit down. They know what they're doing. They're amazing. So it was kind of a little bit more of like, these kids are directing themselves. Like,
and in that case, you get to like step back from the acting and focus more on the general thing and like
100%. And I had to be in front of the camera in that one.
Yeah.
So
which is hard.
It's so fucking hard.
Hate it. I do it all the time. I fucking hate it.
It's 100%. You just don't have the same control of.
You don't. Not even
what's it? You have to. In my sense, like, I'm lucky that you are the DOP, that you've been the DOP in both, because I 100% trust you in the, if I need to step out, you can direct in that.
Yeah, but I think
that moment.
Yeah, and for me though, it was like super important because like it's hard of a balance because like I know I can call shots, but it's your film, so it's like I have to put myself in the DOP seat, which is let me show you the review, right? So that you get to call it. But yeah, that's super important. But you do lose that control because you're not focused during the process and you're only watching playback on the screen, and it's not like the same type of control that you get.
No, 100%.
It's just a matter of like how much time you spend focusing on the thing. You know, it's like at the end of the day, you realize, man, when you're doing big projects, it's like holy fuck, there's so much attention to be given to so many details, and you only have this much time and this much attention. So it's like, where do you put it?
Well, and it's interesting because I mean, my biggest project has been like a crew of like a whole casting crew of like 10 people, and yours has been bigger. But I think that
I had 11 people.
wait, 11 and a half. No, but I think that
I was a little person. I never shot with. I shot with children, so I guess that counts.
yeah, they're like little dudes.
So you were saying about?
No, I was saying that I think that a very big aspect of directing would be knowing when, in what aspect or what department or what like to focus
on at one time.
your strength, seeing like how you manage the time, how you prioritize like problems or problem solving, and all that shit. But so I don't know if you have something to say about that with the trailer because that's huge.
Yeah, the trailer is like a thing we'll talk about it another time. I think we'll hopefully I want to do like episodes of the trailer where we talk about the project with like different people we worked with and stuff. But like, so lessons learned there. So I want to give you the tricky question about the whole. It's not nudity, but it's very sexy. The film is like, it's. That was a decision, and it's like the 100%. Whole time like we were approaching it, like I knew you had that in mind, and I knew you knew how much of it's like a hot potato, a very hot potato,
a very hot potato. So,
but it's like, so when you're going through it, how was it finding that balance of like, because it's very sexualized, but again that's the genre. How hard do you lean into the sexy? How do you choose your cuts to like make it, less of less revealing or more revealing? Like how did you feel going through that?
I think it's a matter of stages. As I said before, writing, it's like, it's my
anything I can do.
Fucking blank page. I can do whatever the fuck I want. So I was like, best case scenario, I'm gonna have this actor and she's gonna be
down for
whatever, and we're gonna have it here. And I'm playing with a character. I'm not really playing with a person, right?
Yep.
So the character's doing this, the character is wearing this, the character's taking this off. We see the character here, and I write my best case scenario.
Yeah.
And I cannot be troubled to tone it down because it's not appropriate, because people are gonna think it's exploitative, because like no excuse. And I think that at that point,
you gotta be
fearless.
Yeah, you gotta be,
and you gotta do whatever the fuck you want, and that's your film, and just write without fear.
Yeah.
I think ideally you direct also without fear, and you'd go through all the projects without fear. But ideally, like I cannot give myself the luxury to that. And obviously, the one rule when
like that's the ideal. That's where you want to be. Exactly. But like, I mean, how many directors actually get to direct without fear? There's like Tarantino, like Aronofsky, like you have to. There's not that many directors who get to do whatever the fuck they want to do. So
I would add one but to that, like always knowing that your actors are people. And treating them with like the dignity and respect they deserve as professionals and as artists and as human beings, because it's not, when you're dealing with a character, do whatever the fuck you want. But when you're doing with a person,
exactly,
there's
I think, but I think that's a cool distinction too, because it's like you can only do the best work you can if you aim for the best thing, like the best scenario you want to aim for.
Right.
But then the whole people aspect kind of takes place when the people get involved, right? So it's kind of like, okay, and now I have to approach the person like this is an actual person. Before you write it, it's a thing, it's an imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
And it goes on the paper. But then once you contact the person, it's like, okay, we're gonna make sure that you're comfortable. We're gonna, we can do, tell me what you're comfortable with, how, like, what sort of things can I do to help you? All of those questions at that point.
It was kind of funny because like everything, like nowadays everything that I write, I send it to the wordsmith, and the wordsmith checks it, and the wordsmith goes to his forge up in the mountains where the fuck he does his work.
Mount Fuji, I've heard.
Yeah, and he just like fucking hammering at the like red iron, at the red hot iron that is the script.
Yeah.
And he said like, "Oh, I don't know, man."
You had some. Yeah, there was
not in a negative thing, but he was like, just be mindful of these, right? Because you're
It's the
gonna have
perspective
an
thing.
actor.
It's like you have this in mind, but you are incapable of communicating to everyone exactly what you had in mind, and in your mind it's justified that you have this level of nudity or sexuality.
Right.
So
And
it's kind of like the challenge is that it's like, how comfortable are you going that bold with your vision of like, this new level of sexuality makes sense for this because of these references, because of that's where I'm taking it. It is a risk because no director can communicate 100% of what they have in mind. So it's kind of like you have to discover that level of comfort.
Oh, 100%. And I think it's like it's an art thing, right? Like nobody can communicate 100% of the art, and I think it gets a little bit lost when it comes out, no matter what the
It gets
thing is you're
transformed.
doing.
Yeah.
But for example, like 100%. I mean, this again, it's like a film school short kind of thing, right?
It's a learning experience.
It's a learning experience. So for a learning experience, considering that, there's certain things that be like, okay, we're not gonna push it that much or fight for something.
There was like, for example, there was no need for boobies.
No,
So
but
puppet boobies though.
puppet
Yes.
movies, 100%. Puppets don't have rights. We stick our fists up their butt like every other day.
You don't even have to ask for consent.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
puppets. That's what's great about puppets.
But honestly, if this was a 10-minute short that would be submitted to festivals, with the same idea, with the same everything, I would have shown nudity, like topless nudity.
Really?
100%. Because of the genre.
Yeah. I think it would have needed. So
It
with the
would've-
10
it
minutes,
would've
with the
been
10
a-
minutes, yes. With the
Like
2 minutes,
no, not at all.
Okay,
not
cool,
at all.
cool.
Not at no way.
Because you have
so-
to kind of like you have to build it up, and like in 2 minutes that's impossible.
I'd say, well, like,
Well, yeah, it's possible.
well, yes. I mean, you can just fucking show them, right?
Yeah.
But I mean it as a festival, as saying like, hey, you know what? We're making a film to show it in festivals, to go specifically to horror and suspense festivals.
That's
To
the
go
genre.
these kind of
We're hitting
genre
this niche.
where this niche and this genre
Totally.
has a visual language that means something,
you.
and people are gonna see a slasher coming up the
That's
hallway
fully
into
committed.
a bathroom to kill this girl. It's a genre staple that you just show the boobs there, you know, because it's kind of the moment. It might not be essential to the it's not essential to the story. It's a little bit.
It's throwing your hat to the genre.
100%.
Yeah.
It's exploitative. Yes, 100%. It's kind of exploitative.
In what sense?
In the sense that like you really don't need it to move the story forward. But
you
it's,
need it for
as you
that
say, it's like
genre
you're it's
recognize-
a nod of the hat, or it's throwing the hat to the genre, to the there's to movies
And I'm sure though you can lean hard into that, but also give a certain nod that says this is self-aware, and then it becomes
100%.
way more justified.
Because
and you get more
like
comfortable with it.
I do think that in some level, like there will be a context, right? It's not like you're gonna have the girl come to her apartment and go to the kitchen and get naked in the kitchen and cook some waffles.
I mean, I would have liked that, but
But if it's like she goes to the bathroom, she's ready to get into the bath.
that's where the nakedness happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's also about if you lean in thematically about like the slasher is in your house, is invading your personal space, is invading where you're vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
It's
the
the
nudity.
it's the reason why that exists. It's a vulnerability thing, and it's like nudity puts people on edge in general because it's not a thing you're not that used to seeing nudity on screen, first of all, so it elicits a reaction from you. And it's that vulnerability. It's like the classic is like you're getting murdered. It's not, I mean, the cheesy version is the boobies, but it's the instinctual reaction is like you're getting stabbed, and it's like you're trying to cover up, and like that's a primal.
The way I
like,
would do it, for
fear,
example, would be as you say it, right? You're gonna get stabbed. You're gonna try to put your hands up. You're gonna have like what they call like defensive wounds and all this kind of shit. So it wouldn't be like, stab me right here in between my boobies.
Yeah.
It would be more like we see the topless nudity, but the victim's trying to like defend herself or himself or whatever, right? And so it's more about to show the vulnerability, And yes, there's a sexual element to it, like getting stabbed. Like, I mean, there's like this whole thing about like you're getting stabbed and it's like a knife and it's kind of phallic and it's going into the skin, all this shit, which kind of adds to it. It's weird, like the mix of sex and violence in visual language and in art. I think it's kind of its whole thing, but it'll be again leaning into that, and I think that.
In a 10 minutes, you
can lean into the themes of the being unsafe, the violence and sexuality, the vulnerability, all that shit. You can develop it in 2 minutes. I mean, probably you can. I'm not gonna try it. Yeah, and I'm not gonna try it for a Kino challenge.
I actually think so. The whole time, like I was kind of giving you hesitations, well, not hesitations. I was giving you the information so that you would make the right so that you would make a clarified decision no matter which one you wanted to take. That was kind of my approach. It was like, be conscious. People will probably judge you for the level of nudity. You need to be conscious of how
I'm actually very excited.
I think it's the right level.
I'll let you finish this thought.
So what I wanted to say is that it's like I think you hit the right level. Because it's also a great payoff for the puppet boobies. So, and I think, like, honestly, everyone will be left with, like, oh my god, I wanted to see this girl. I wanted to see this film go there, but then you cut the puppet, so it makes it, like, so much more, I think that really works.
So, fuck, I kind of lost track of the first... The what I was gonna say first.
You were saying
how did you start?
We were talking about how I was kind of like maybe advising you or giving you my input about the level of nudity and how you would be sort of judged about it.
Well, there's the judging. We're recording this one night before we actually show the movie to everybody. Yeah. So we don't know how people are gonna react to it. I'm very excited to see their reaction, their responses. 100%. I'd rather have people being like, dude, you pushed it. I was so like, that's not okay.
Why?
Like, oh my god, why? And be like, oh yeah, that's that guy that showed like the nudity, like a partial nudity, however you want to say. Yeah. And then people being like last.
Okay, you made a film.
Like last month, it was, and it's not necessarily that I want a reaction, but last month. My friends and people that I really value their opinions, like came up and said like, that was great. Like Zoe said, yours had the best story, like the writing was on point, and
that's always a good thing, man. Your writing's always great,
especially coming from Zoe. It's
she's
fucking
she's a writer.
So and the people that I talked to, like Sandrine, also mentioned like, it was great, it was funny, it was really cool. Nice. So people that I respect and that I want to work with responded very well to it, but. I rather have people talk about it than just be, especially when we have the feast, right? They show you 20, 10, like...
Hey, you get to do something else the next month.
Exactly. Yeah. And so...
You get to recover.
But I'm really curious how it's going to be received. Mm-hmm.
You'd rather get a strong reaction no matter what it is than a tepid one.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, like... For me, it was the same thing, man. When I did Violar, it was like, holy fuck! I got selected to be one of the directors for this festival, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't do a film that's just gonna pass under the radar. I need to make some waves, and I have things to say. Yep, it was Kino Cabaret, nice. So that's when they select, like in Montreal, it's like 30 directors. There's some.
I'm excited for this year. I'm gonna see if I can.
Yeah, they postponed it. But yeah, let's get you on that shit for sure.
We'll figure that out.
I think that makes sense.
One thing too about this is that I think that it makes sense in the context of the movie. So it's an homage. It's very clear that it's a slasher. Yeah. She's there, and as you say, right, there's like we cut to the puppet, so we're in a very high tense, like she's at the most naked or about to get the most naked, and we cut to puppet, and it's completely ridiculous, and it's this thing about like. Like you push it, push it, and then you kind of just like disarm the tension with comedy.
Exactly.
So by the end of it, people are gonna be laughing, and they're gonna that's my kind of theory. They're gonna forgive what came before because they're gonna be laughing.
The final note is positive.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think so. On that final note, do you want to end this on the final note?
Yeah, please.
This was a positive final note. I gotta go to the pisser.
All right, again.
Let's do it.
You need to fucking get
together.
that checked.
Let's not do it together.